knowledge. From the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lee is dropping
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I've got a real treat. Now, you might be thinking every day I say I got a real treat, but today I've got a real treat. Mike Makabi. I say Makabi.
You can say one
It
or
might
the
it
other.
might be because I'm part of the tribe from the old school.
People call me either or.
How do you pronounce it?
I say Makabi now that I'm back in the States, but in Israel, where I'm from, we say Makabi.
Mike Makabi to you and I, folks. Now, listen, here's why I'm excited that he's here. Number one, he figured out a way to make a shit ton of money. Number two, he's willing to share how to make a shit ton of money, which is crazy because most people who figure out how to make a bunch of money keep their mouth shut. They keep it a secret. They don't want to let it out. They want to just be greedy and they want to get as rich as shit all by themselves. But Mike, he figured out one thing. When you collaborate, you add to the world, you add to what's in it. And when you compete, you're kind of taking away. This gentleman wants to add to the world. Am I lying?
No, you're on the money.
I'm on the money.
Outside of money, the topic of money, you realize once you made it in life, or what you think you call making it in life, there's more to it than just money. It's the quality of life. It's your health. It's your mental state. It's all the great stuff Tony Robbins always says.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about. And if you're 20 years old, 50 or 70 years old, doesn't make a difference. Money, once you get it, is worth nothing without all the rest of what I just described. So, I'm very happy and excited to be here today. I think you're an amazing human being, Brad. You've done amazing things for a lot of people.
Why,
and I'm hoping that this message, this short little broadcast you and I are going to be talking about today, will give shed some light and help other people that maybe are going through some hard times or looking for some light in their darkness.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm glad you're here, only because the Bomb Squad, which is my faithful listeners, they're all kinds of people. You've got startup entrepreneurs, you got wantrepreneurs, you got big businesses, believe it or not, lawyers, doctors. My demographic is ironically diverse.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Goes from people that are broke, blue collar, they like my realness, all the way up to the top where there's very successful people that may not really like the elementary message as much as they do, but they can't deny the facts. Facts.
That's what life is. You got to live in them.
Yeah, and I keep bringing on good folks like yourself.
Thank you so much.
So,
I'm honored to be here.
So, folks, Mike has figured out what real estate is all about. At 19, you made what, $250,000?
Yeah, somewhere around there. But more important, again, than the money was, I realized quickly, and I've been into many different businesses, but my core business is commercial real estate. And unlike traditional real estate, and a lot of the guys that are out there talking about it, commercial real estate is very unique, especially commercial industrial real estate, which is a very underspoken about industry. It's a very niche segmented part of this giant country and world. And I wanted to shed some light on it and let people know that there's a great deal of opportunity sitting beneath your nose. And most people don't know about it. And I made my success in it, and I'm doing very well in it, thank God. I'm in my growth stage and expanding. And so I think what I wanted to talk about was really that a lot of people have a misconception that real estate, you need a lot of money, you need a lot of connections, you need a lot of experience. And the truth is, sure, you do need a little portion or maybe a handful of each of those things. But the most important thing, whether you're in real estate, you're selling training technologies like Lightspeed, beautiful, magnificent company that it is, ultimately, it's about knowing why you're doing what you're doing, which most people don't stop to think about because they're all about the buck and not why they want the money. The why is what's going to keep you motivated and persistent.
What was your why?
Survival.
That's a strong one.
you know, I'm not gonna make it sound out to be like I was some poor soul from Kuwait or the other side of the world that didn't have what to eat. I actually grew up in beautiful Southern California. My dad was a very successful contractor and developer. Regretfully, he went bankrupt, like most business people can. Willingly, unwillingly, it happened. And I went from living a nice life to all of a sudden overnight, it was very difficult. And so I had to fend. And lucky for me, and I was very lucky, I had very good, strong mentors in my life, family, cousins that brought me into this field. And I remember going to college and I was told, listen, man, you can't go to school. You can't afford school. You got to go and grind. You got to go make money. And I was fighting with myself. What do I do? Should I stay in school? Should I go work? Ultimately, you know, I decided to make the jump, leap of faith, which requires a lot of courage. In business, you need to have a lot of courage. And I got into real estate. I got my real estate license at 18. And that's where I started. I started transacting on commercial real estate. I didn't work for family. I worked for an anti-Semitic genius in downtown LA. And he taught me a lot of what I know today. And a lot of things you and I discussed earlier, I learned from him. And I made a good chunk of money for a young man. But the unfortunate part was I didn't have a lot of guidance to grow. And he didn't really help me. He didn't give me any leads. He didn't tell me how to start. He didn't point me in the right direction. He just said, listen, here's an opportunity. Go figure it out. If you manage to survive, which is the key word here, you'll succeed. This is a great business. So fast forward 2-3 years, I ended up leaving this gentleman because him and I couldn't see eye to eye. He couldn't come forward and see me grow, which is something you learn along the way when you work for people. You know, a lot of people keep you with a thumb on top of your head or finger on top of it. They don't want to see you grow. And so, you know, now that I'm my own business owner and I have people that work with me, I realized it's got to be a win-win. You got to help people and they need to see it, genuinely see that you want the betterment of their life. And that's how you really sell someone to stay with you forever. Of course, the product has to be good. Of course, the service has to be good. But really, if you want longevity, which is long-lasting fulfillment, you have to treat people right. You have to care about the people, and you got to do right by them. So unfortunately, that guy wasn't that type of character. He was a one-man genius. He did very well. He probably owned around almost 100 commercial buildings. He managed over 300, him and 3 ladies. Along the way, I realized there was a big shortage for commercial real estate property owner contact information. And there was no companies out there that you can get ownership data, which basically you would need if you wanted to prospect in our business. Every business, I don't care what you're in, if you don't have viable leads, you're not going anywhere anytime soon. So I put my focus, you know, I couldn't stand what I did in the beginning, which was canvassing, which in our business means you're physically door knocking. And I wore a suit and tie, and I would walk the streets of downtown LA in the heat. And I was told this is the best course of action. Now, I look like I'm from the no good part of the world. I'm Middle Eastern. I'm young. Most of these owners are white, older. They would not give me an audience. And so I would waste a lot of my time and I'd get rejected a lot. And it was very discouraging. So eventually I went back to my broker at the time, this man, this genius. And I said, listen, there's got to be a better way to get a hold of these deals instead of walking around all day staring at walls. He said, listen, you can try calling, telemarketing. I said, great. Where's the phone numbers? I'll start dialing immediately. He said, yeah, that's the only trick, kid. No numbers. You got to go dig them up one at a time. So long story short, I end up researching on my own time, figuring out how to get a hold of these phone numbers. It was a slow, annoying, cumbersome process. But I managed to do, he said, he challenged me, this guy. He said, listen, why don't you do this zip code where we're at? Go figure out who all these owners are. Call them and go make a deal. If you make a deal and you prove to me that you can do all this work, I'll invest in this new idea, which I solicited at the time. I said, why don't we create a technology company for property owner contact information in commercial real estate? Because it hadn't existed back then. This is 2004 I'm talking about. That's when I got into the business. And long story short, I end up closing several deals from that list. I kind of faked it till I made it, and I ended up making a good chunk of money. And I said, okay, it's time to come through with your wager, with what you told me. He didn't follow through, and I was very disappointed, disgruntled as a young man. I looked up to this guy. I took my money, whatever I had made, and I walked, and I never looked back. After that, I opened up my own firm, and I put all my money into building this technology. Imagine me trying to make a light speed at 20 years old. Nobody to help me. I had people on my back I had to carry at the time. And I burned through my capital like a lunatic. My short little $250,000 became nothing, and then I ended up going into debt. I went into debt. I failed miserably in my business venture, and I was really scared. I was in a place where I thought I knew it all. I realized I was a dumb idiot kid that knew nothing. And the acknowledgement was in itself a huge accomplishment because, you know, when you come across money quick, you think you're a maverick, especially when you're young. But then if you don't have guidance and counsel in life, you realize how stupid you are and how quickly you're going to tumble down. It's like running. So I ended up getting a phone call from a friend. He ends up asking me for a pickup truck, some help to go deliver a new product. It was a patio heater. It was those new, I don't know if you've ever seen, I'm sure you've seen them. They're triangular pyramid shape with a glass tube in it with the flame.
Yep.
So we innovated that product. Not going to drop names, but that was our product. We brought it to the country. And then from that one day, I ended up starting to work for that company, which we started 4 people. And that became a huge success. It was a family-run business. I stayed with that company for 7 years. All my life, except maybe when I was a kid, I never, ever had an employee-paid job. I was always 1099. I was always out to get it. I had it. It was in my nature. I didn't believe in trading time for money. And so even when I was really down and I was up against it and in debt, I decided to take a sales job because I couldn't just live with myself knowing that if I go into this debt, I'm going to have to work every day, clock in, clock out, and that's it. That's my life. So we ended up making a good deal of money, and regretfully, at the end of that term, I left that company too. There was a power struggle, an ego balance between a family-run business, which almost nearly destroyed the company. And so I left, and an opportunity came about, and I got back into commercial real estate. I was always in real estate. I was always investing in real estate. I was always transacting in real estate. But for a period, I went to work for this company. I ended up becoming the number 2 of this company. And all of the deficiencies that I didn't know how to handle as a young man earlier, at 20, 19, 18, I got to learn from 22 to 27, 28 years old. And in that period, I learned, logistics, manufacturing, design, customer service, litigation. God, how I love litigation. Financing, accounting, you name it. To run a company, you figure it out, you learned it. And then I realized this was what I was missing. I needed the education. You see, you might have a great idea. You might even have money. But if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're doomed to fail. So that's why I'm a strong believer in what Lightspeed and what you're doing here, what you're representing, is you're helping people get educated. And all of us, we have our own little stories in life and our own little successes. I'm a nobody. I'm really a nobody. But I know that there's a lot of people out there that this might resonate with, that can take advantage of my little life insight and apply it for their own life and get ahead. And ultimately, that's what I'm here to talk about. So after I got back into real estate, I came across a brokerage. I became a partner in that brokerage. And there was a young gentleman, African-American guy named Brandon. I'll never forget him. He was licking stamps on postcards. And he was in a conference room. I said, Brandon, what are you doing? He said, listen, Mike, this is a great way for me to prospect, to find owners that aren't currently listed on the marketplace, to list their property and broker a deal. Now, at that point, I'd done a lot of forms of marketing, trade shows, telemarketing, magazines, online marketing, but I never did postcards. I couldn't sleep that night. This kid made me think. He said he ended up closing a deal. He sent out like 500 envelopes or postcards, and he got a couple leads and it responded into a deal. And I said, if we could only scale this, it would be interesting, and maybe change the creative, the content, to be more insightful, geared towards what a commercial owner would want. So we changed the postcard to a letter. The letter became 4 pages. The 4 pages were a letter of intent, or LOI in commercial real estate, we say. In business, we say. It was to acquire the building. So I went on a journey of over 2 years of trying to gather property owner information, property information, gathering a team, building really a scientific technology behind the art of prospecting for commercial property owners. And I did it in Los Angeles to begin with, because that was my core, my mecca. And now today, fast forward years later, I do it all over the country. And now we have an amazing marketing company that solicits off-market property owners anywhere in the country. We generate and we pre-qualify through magnificent automation and technology, something that no one else in the marketplace today is doing. We offer everybody that works with me, all of my agents, because we run a commercial real estate brokerage, which is another company of ours called MTIP, which stands for Make the Impossible Possible. And we got offices in LA, in New York, and Miami. But the idea is really to get people these off-market deals, have them negotiate these deals for our acquisitions fund, which is called BroadBridge. BroadBridge is a commercial real estate acquisitions fund that we built back in 2014. And so basically we do all of this in-house work for ourselves and for the people that work with us. And at some point I realized, wow, this is so successful. This is making so much money. This is amazing. But I became complacent. I was like, let's spread the word. Let's get this out there. Let's recruit people and get people that are genuinely interested to transcend their lives using this magnificent tool called commercial real estate to build generational wealth for them and their families and their lives. There is no business, and I don't care in what business you think you're in or you're heading towards, that could make and sustain this level of income in the entire world. I have met, and I know very close friends, they do tens of millions, hundreds of millions. I have billionaires in my family. There is nobody I know that has made this level of money outside of commercial real estate. Look, today you got a character like Grant Cardone. He's a great guy. He's an amazing man. His journey went from being a car salesman, trainer, right? Salesman, you would know better than I.
Yep.
To then selling it online, to then now his whole purpose and his whole calling is come invest in commercial real estate. What do you think? He discovered America? No. He just figured out what all of these generations prior already knew. An elite few knew. Commercial real estate is where you can make genuine, long-lasting wealth. And, lucky for me, I stumbled upon this because of family, because of friends. And now this is my calling and message in my life. I made my money. I didn't need much. And I still don't. I'm very content. I'm very happy where I'm at in my life. I'm not in this business just for money anymore. I'm really in it because it inspires me every day. And I'm trying to be as real as I can. You know, it sounds corny or cliche, but I really don't give a shit about money anymore. It doesn't excite me. You can buy Lambos. I'm sure you bought Ferraris and Lamborghinis in your life. You can buy, I don't know, travel the world. You can buy a really cool house, all the gadgets, super clothes, everything. In the end, you're going to get miserably bored and you're going to feel empty. And so luckily, I got to that feeling at a younger age rather than older. And now I realize that my life purpose is to go after aspects where are challenging, things that are obstacles for me. That's why I find the most joy in my life today. You know, if there's something that we need to solve in our business, I'm diving right into it because that's what excites me. Meeting you, Mr. Bradley, is exciting to me. Why? Because you're bridging a gap between two different worlds, and coming together is more fascinating to me than saying, okay, wire me another 6-digit figure or 7-digit figure into my bank account. What am I going to do with this money? I can't take it to the grave. The whole purpose of why we make all this money, we receive in order to share. And a lot of people don't recognize this. You receive in life in order to share. So that's my story in a nutshell. I don't want to rant about it, but that's how I led to where I am today. And I met Brad through his amazing platform, Lightspeed. We have our course. We have built a course, a 20-plus hour course about commercial real estate, how to get started, what you need to get started in the business. If you're more advanced, you know, how to proceed forward and then really become a real estate investor. I am not a broker per se. I do a lot of arbitrage. I don't know. Do you know what that word means?
Not officially, but I know the word.
Arbitrage, basically, you're in real estate. What we do,
people.
We're creating a commodity out of our real estate contracts. You know, there's people out there, they're brokers. That's one role. There's flippers. They buy homes, remodel them or properties, and then sell them, right? Wholesalers. There's developers, people that build from the ground up. And then there's real estate syndicators. And that's what I do. I'm in syndication and arbitration. This type of real estate model is very lucrative, and it requires the least amount of effort once you know what you're doing. So as far as profit margins are concerned, if someone's looking to make, you know, a 7-digit annual income figure, this is the business you want to be in. And I'm not bullshitting. You can ask anybody in this business that's doing what I'm doing. They'll tell you they're making over $1 million a year.
So let's say someone's flat broke, bad credit.
Flat broke, bad credit. Okay. So if you have no money.
But they got the drive.
Listen, if you have no money, I said this to you earlier. The first step of success in my book is you have to invest in yourself. You know, your physical health. If you can't afford $24 to go to LA Fitness a month, really there's a problem in your life. If you can't make, I have some interns working with me. They'll probably hear this later. I told them, if you can't make $200 a week, I'm giving you shelter. If you can't provide $200 a week, there's a problem with you. And I'm sorry, I can't help you. So the truth is, as much as I want to help the entire world, if you don't know how to help yourself and become a human being at an elementary level, I'm not the guy to help you. Maybe some goody, I don't know what kind of Tony Robbins, you go to one of these courses, they'll help you. Now, as far as bad credit goes, credit is a moment in time. I had bad credit at one point. I lost my shirt when I was younger. I went into debt. I had creditors coming after me. In my course, I actually talk about how to deal with that. And the truth is, that's a easy fix. But in the hierarchy of how you get the 7 digits, look, it took me 15 years.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people out there with, you know, little bit of money, decent credit. But that's what, you know, if someone asks me, why am I not big in real estate? That's why. Number one, when I was younger, I fucked up my credit like a dumbass because nobody in school is teaching the right shit. Someone should have told me as a kid, credit's vitally important. Vitally important. No one told me. It took me probably till I was 30 to get decent credit. And then no one taught me shit. Like I just hit 800 in the last couple of years. I never knew how to get. I kept wondering, how are these people getting 800 scores? I pay my bills. I do this. I stack up the credit cards and I pay them off. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? Until I met someone that really understood credit.
Credit repair.
Well, it didn't need to be repaired. It was credit intelligence. Like, I mean, there's certain things that you do
Sure.
that will jack up your credit score by 100 points. Like, for example, I didn't know if you have a credit card that's maxed out, you're only supposed to have up to 10%.
I heard 30, but sure, I could also take 10 as a
Well,
number.
I'm just going on what he told me, and everything he said's come true. But 10% of your credit card. So if let's say you have a credit card of $3,000,
Sure.
you can spend $300 on that card before it starts hurting your credit.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So like, I didn't know that shit. I thought, well, charge them up and then pay them off, and then sometimes you didn't have as much money as you thought at the end of the month, so you make the minimum payment, and then you keep going, and then
That's a recipe for disaster.
yeah. So I was doing that my whole freaking life. No one told me. So I always thought, shit, I don't have killer credit. I'll bet you I had a 640 on average.
Okay.
I don't have killer credit,
Which is not bad, by the
Not
way.
bad.
I've seen worse.
yeah, not bad. But I didn't have. Here's what I thought. You can't go get into commercial real estate unless you got some big money down or you have great credit. So I just never even looked at it, which was foolish. So what I'm trying to say to people out there right now is, it doesn't matter if you have bad credit, because it doesn't matter if you have bad credit. You can go secure contracts, find deals for guys like you. You
Sure.
can literally get your name on a deal because you did the work to find it. It's not even your money that's funding it.
Sure.
It's not your money at all. You lock up the option to sell it, right?
Well,
There's those.
that's arbitrage, right? In a way, it's like what you do in stocks with options. For those people listening out there that do stock options, it's a lot of money. It's higher risk. You're risking your money, your own capital, to try to flip that option and make money off of it. In real estate, you can really get to a point where you're not risking any money.
Because what happens if I find you've had this building for 15 years, you're kind of tired of it, you want a lump sum, you're ready to retire. I come rolling along and I say, okay, you want 10 million, and I say, give me 90 days to do
So
my
I'm
due
gonna
diligence.
I'm gonna walk you through, but I want to address your credit thing. I want to tell you one more thing about credit for a lot of listeners out there that can help them. One of the easiest, quickest ways to bump your credit very, very rapidly is go to your friends and your family. Anybody that has good credit and a long history with deep credit lines, and ask them to add you as an additional cardholder. That's the simplest, easiest, fastest way to bump your credit score, and for the other creditors to solicit you with offers for new credit cards. So that's a little trick that I learned at a young age. My story with credit, I had no credit at 18. I walked into Chase Bank. I had earned a chunk of money on a real estate deal. I took $10,000 cash, crisp, nice, put in my coat jacket, walked in, and I said, I'd like to open an account with your bank. And I'd like to see your bank manager. I act like a big shot, and I really was trembling in my little shoes. I didn't know really what I was saying. I thought I'd try something. Bank manager comes up to me. How can I help you, sir? Yeah, I'd like to open an account. He says, okay, sure. This, that, the other. I said, how much do you need for a minimum to open an account? $100, sir. I took out the 10,000. I threw it at him. I said, here's 10 grand. Just open it up. I'm gonna wire my other funds in another couple of days. The guy looked at me, funny. He sees this kid. I look like Aladdin, this Middle Eastern kid. And
Aladdin.
Yeah, Aladdin. And he looked at me and said, okay. Then as a last minute thing, I said to him, by the way, sir, can, I'd get a lot of cash transactions, wires. I don't have any credit, and I'm moving here to this high rise down the street. My banker, my accountant, keeps telling me I need to establish credit. And being that I'm so young, I was wondering, can you guys give me a line of credit? So the banker looked at me and he said, let me see what I can do, Mr. Makabi. Or Makabi. He came back. He said, the bank has approved you for $10,000. Why? Because I gave him the 10 grand. The second I got that first card from that bank, they started the flood pools of
offers.
They just started to come in. 10 grand. And I, like a machine, every offer I got, I immediately applied for the credit. At one point, I got like $100,000 worth of credit from 20 different credit cards. My friends were like, "You're a lunatic." I said, "No, I'm not a lunatic. I'm not going to use this, but in a time of need, that's what credit is for. You're trying to expand your business? Guess what? No one's going to hand you any money. But the beauty of this country, and I've traveled all around the world, no other country is willing to give you credit, non-secured credit, like this beautiful United States of America. And you have this advantage. They'll give you 10, 20, 50, $100,000 worth of credit cards that you can accumulate, and that's your seed capital to go and invest it into your next genius idea or your career in commercial real estate." So that's really, by the way, how I got started with credit. That was the story. Later in life, I realized credit cards, if you don't have discipline, will ruin you. And I saw a lot of people
Yes, it will.
destroy their lives. You know, America's about finance this, lease that, finance that. And the reality is, if you don't have a discipline, you'll get into trouble. And that's why today I probably only rely on American Express corporate card as a business card.
Yeah.
That's probably my primary card I use. And that's because it's a charge card. And the difference between credit and charge is at the end of the month, whatever bill you generated, you got to pay it due. So
Yeah.
it holds you accountable.
Sure does. I've learned that the hard way too.
So that was another insightful tool as far as credit. Now, as far as starting out and getting to the business, look, becoming a real estate agent is probably the easiest way to get your foot in the door. But the issue with becoming an agent is there is no guidance once you get your license. So you might spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 initially getting your license, and you're like, now what? And the big companies out there, especially in commercial real estate, they'll treat you like trash. They'll
Why?
basically run you around, you'll do a bunch of work, and you'll make no money. The smaller boutique firms won't help you because they got their own deals going on. They don't have the time to give you any attention. You would think they would, but they also don't. So you're kind of shut out of luck there. And you're scared and you're hesitant to like, all right, should I go pay for a course? Now, today, we're very lucky. We have the internet, there's YouTube. Now there's all these amazing people. Like I mentioned, Grant Cardone, his course. I paid for Grant Cardone's course. I paid for his
How
real
was
estate
it?
course. It was very, very good. It was very rich and detailed. I highly recommend it. But ultimately, I realized he's charging $10,000 for that course. And it's worth every cent. And the reason I say that is because people don't understand the amount of wealth you could make in commercial real estate. $10,000 is a pin drop in the bucket of the ocean. That's called commercial real estate. But when you're starting out, you're freaked out. 10 grand? I would never spend 10 grand. On themselves, they never spend anything close to it. So it's scary. And that's kind of why I wanted to create another platform, not to compete, but to supplement the Grant Cardones of the world, the people that have been, at that level, at that caliber, trying to bring education into this field. I realized I got to make it more affordable. But at the same token, I also realized, and this is a course of hiring and training and growing and recruiting, if people don't pay for the education, they will never value what it is that you're saying. And that's why my shit ain't free. You know, I'm not here to make money off the course. I make 100 times more in my business, which is commercial real estate. I'm not in the education business. I'm not in the virtual training business. I think it's amazing, but that's not my core business. And I realized if I want to recruit people, if I want to find the elite, the commando squad for me and my company and train them tactically exactly the way I know how to run my business, then I had to get on this VT. And, after looking at everything out there, Lightspeed blows everything out of the water. Like, it's like night and day difference. Kajabu, Kajaba, all these other companies don't even compare to what Brad's got. And I'm so thankful he exists, because I wouldn't be able to scale and grow this aspect of recruiting, finding those gems, those people out there that are really hungry, like I'm hungry, to expand and to grow and to scale. And so today, because of our amazing marketing platform, we have deals all over the country. We can literally go in to buttfuck middle of nowhere overnight. I know nobody there. I don't know the market, but I know it's an interesting market. Someone told me something about it, and I'll get an exact count of how many properties exist and the type of property I want to go after, and I can target that property, get pre-qualified leads from people that are actually interested in selling but that are not on the market, give those leads to my qualified agents that work with my company, and then have them negotiate those leads for the fund. And the way we do it is we basically initially, they fall into 3 categories. If the deal is overpriced or at market, we broker the deal, which basically means you're making a real estate commission. Anything under 5-6% commission or margin, what I call it, that goes under brokeraging. If I see that the deal is discounted, meaning it's below the market value, then I will try to either acquire it myself with my own funds that I've accumulated, or I will syndicate the deal, which means that basically I'll bring in a bunch of partners. Brad, you'd be one of them. And I say, Brad, you cough up 100, the other guy 200, the other one 300. You put your money together and you buy the deal as a syndicate. And so that's what we do. And when there is a good chunk of margin, you're able to actually buy the real estate by assigning the deal to the syndicate. And what that means basically is, Brad, if I find a deal for $1 million and I know it's worth $2 million, and I come to you, I'm not going to tell you I'm buying it for $1 million. I'm going to offer it to you for $2 million. And you're going to say, okay, this makes sense at $2 million, I'll buy. And so now you owe me $1 million for me to move over, right? That's the arbitrage. That's what you call the wholesaling. I can make $1 million by selling it to Brad. But I didn't sell him the real estate. I sold Brad the contract for the real estate. Now, if I can change the language, and say, Brad, you know what? You seem like you're a competent developer, a real estate guy. I'm going to, instead of taking your $1 million, I'm going to take $500,000 in cash as a fee. And the other $500,000, I want to roll in with you as equity and become a co-owner of this building. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but person can say no if they want to, right?
And I could say, go fuck yourself. I'll find another buyer that is willing to engage my deals.
Because it's your deal?
That's right.
But without their money, you can't buy it either.
No. A buyer is like the facial hairs on my face. There's an endless amount. They'll keep coming. So long as your article, your product, is in high demand, buyers will always come out of the woodwork. So don't focus your energy on buyers. Buyers are not the objective. Sellers, assets, are what everybody should be looking at. And so we've mastered that, the acquisition, the finding of those assets, and thus you can create leverage and control. And for me in business and in my life, leverage and control are models I live by. I will structure every relationship I have where I never lose my leverage. Because if you lose leverage, you pretty much lost control. You lose control, you're at the wrath of whatever the tidal wave that's coming your way is going to bring you. So we structure deals. We'll go into that $1 million deal. We'll find an owner that hasn't sold in, like you said, 15, a long time, that has very little debt on the building, virtually no debt. And instead of doing what Grant Cardone does, which is he has to go create a private placement memorandum, raise capital through Instagram, through Facebook, and do what he does to generate equity, which is the money you need to put down to buy these buildings. He then needs to go and get the debt, which is the loans from the bank. So he's doing multiple tasks, right? His job. What we do is we find the deals, and if I can't structure my own deal when I can buy it myself, I can't afford it. What I'll do is I'll open the channel to Brads of the world, and I'll say, hey guys, come and buy this deal. You like the deal because it makes sense to you, and I'm going to syndicate you into the deal and earn my stake in the deal by creating that arbitrage, that fee.
Because you found the deal.
Because I found the deal, I structured the deal, and the way I structure the deal is in such a fashion that I have time to my advantage. Because the owners they're not in a rush to sell. I'm not looking for desperate people that are like, I need money tomorrow. I'm looking for people that are willing to trade money for my terms. They want $20 million on a building? You got it. I don't argue with people on money or their price. I argue over terms because I know with the right structure and deal terms, I can find a way to get their price. You can always reverse work it. And a lot of people out there peddling real estate, wholesaling, all these courses, all these guys, they're telling you, go and find distressed, poor people that are in dire need to sell their buildings, which is also a strategy. There's many strategies in real estate. But my strategy for myself and what's led to my success is do things relax, where it's a win-win for the owner and for you and for the syndicate that's behind you.
That's the only way it's going to work long term. Win-win, man. Win-win.
If you said if you don't have any money or very little money and you have poor credit, this is the only way to get into real estate with no money. There's a lot of books out there. It's true. You can buy and own real estate with no money. It's real. It exists. But you need a good product. If you don't have a good deal, you're out of luck.
Well, how do you know what a good deal is?
You got to take my course.
And what about like you offer 20 million and they say, okay, it's a deal. They give you good terms, but 20 million, you paid too much. The building was only worth 16.
So again, that's not a good deal, right? We talked about good deals. If you want to own real estate, you got to find good deals. Good deals means that there's
but when people,
there's 2-3 ways to evaluate property. You can do it by cash flow, which is the capitalization rate, approach, which tells you how much income it's generating, or the income can justify the debt, the loan that you're going to get.
So if the cap rate's 7, that means it's going to make 7% a year?
That's if you paid cash. Cap rate, capitalization rate, describes cash form payment, meaning you paid 100%, you didn't finance it, and that's what the rate of return would be if you didn't finance it. Now, no lunatic in the business would tell you no one buys cash. That's something our grandparents used to do, but today we lever money. And even though I don't have enough time and there's no chalkboard behind me to explain it, but the math, by leveraging your money, you can make exponentially more on your rate of return.
You still use chalkboards?
Absolutely. Why not? Chalkboards,
abacus.
whiteboards, anything you got, we can write on, we'll do. Sand on the floor, on the beach. I'll spit real estate all day long, brother.
Right.
Anywhere I am.
So back to serious. How do you know if it's worth 20 mil?
Okay. So one of the steps in our process is called Q, comping, underwriting, and evaluating. So we teach people how to do this. All of my reps, everybody that works with me, gets a thorough education on how to evaluate real estate. Then determine what the price it's worth. And you can't really, we're not appraisers. You have to pay thousands of dollars for an appraisal to get an accurate report. But you can do what we call a broker opinion. It's like a basic report. You take comps of what sold recently. That's one way of doing it. You underwrite the deal, which means that you analyze how much income it's bringing today, how much income it could bring tomorrow, what the expenses are, and then you cipher through that to get a rate of return, a cash flow, a cash-on-cash return. So that's 2. And then there's 3, which really isn't used, is the replacement cost approach, or the construction approach. So if you can't find comps and the income doesn't make any verbal sense, then you go and see what similar buildings, the construction of it would be considered, what it would cost. But generally, most people in residential, they'll do comps, the comp approach. In commercial, they'll do the income approach, because most investors are looking for income-producing property, which is great. If you could come across it and you find it, you're kingpin. Grant Cardone does just that. That's why he's on a wave of growth, right? He now has a beautiful system. He has equity being raised by his fund, which are all the beautiful people on Instagram and Facebook following him. He has debt coming from the commercial lenders, and he's done it enough times now that he has a great, credible reputation with them.
They'll give him whatever he wants.
And then he finds deals. And now how he finds deals is very different than the way I find deals. Because he's already at the top of the pyramid, deals come to him because people know he can close the deals. For me and for the average Joe out there, you got to get clever. You got to be resourceful. And so what we built was this marketing platform to find any deal anywhere. And basically, we gather our equity by buying it cheap and selling it for a higher value, and take our equity in exchange for a fee. The way we raise debt, which basically means the loan is, if an owner has owned a building, for a longer period of time, he doesn't owe anything on it, most likely. You can ask that owner to carry back a note, to do seller financing.
Will they do that a lot?
If you find the deal where it describes the criteria I just explained, they will entertain it. And the reason behind why they would is very simple. If they sell the building and they make a shit ton of money, they're going to pay Uncle Sam 25 to 30% in what's known as capital gains. And they want to avoid those taxes. So they do something called a 1031 Tax Deferred Exchange. That's a IRS jargon for tax code. That basically allows you to take your proceeds and move it over to to a better or different property, similar properties, so they can cash flow from it. And a lot of owners do that. The problem is you have 45 days from the moment you close to identify those properties. And if you can't do it within that time, you're paying the gains. So a lot of people don't want to be under pressure. They made a lot of money. They have to go looking right now. So what I tell them is, listen, I alleviate that stress. Why don't you just become my bank? Finance your building to me. You become my bank. You hold a mortgage in your name against the asset. I buy it. Like, let's say it's a vacant building.
Is it possible to do that with zero down?
100%. You can structure 100% financing. 100% financing exists, ladies and gentlemen. You can do it. It's called creative financing. All this whole discussion we're just sharing right now is very viable. It happens all the time, but you can't be in that room. You can't be in that conversation if you don't have the prospect, right? So first step is
You going gun shooting?
No, we're doing it we're doing it a little later. We're gonna take my lady here. We're taking her gun shooting for the first time. But first step is get the lead. Second step is structure the deal, and then third step is sell the deal. Sell the deal. But what I mean by that is either you're gonna collect a fee or you're gonna sell it in the form of syndication so that you can earn an equity stake in the building. And then, my friends, you sit on cash flow. You sit on depreciation, which basically means you're Donald Trump. You pay zero in taxes for the rest of your life.
Even if it's appreciating, you get to depreciate it.
Yeah, these are the three rudimentary things about real estate. Appreciation, which means you earn more in value and equity over the course of time. That happens because the market value goes up from other properties being sold, or because you manage to raise the rents, or because you manage to decrease your expenses. That's how you create equity and appreciation. Cash flow, which obviously everybody understands, is that residual income coming to you from the rents.
Can't you just raise the rent? You own the building now.
Yeah, you can raise the rent. Of course
you walk in and say, everybody's paying $100 more a month.
Well, depending on the lease terms, yes, you can. Of course you can. 100. That's actually your intention. Your goal is to take a vacant building and stabilize it, which means you're going to put tenants in it and obviously collect the highest rent possible. Or your goal is to take the existing rents, which is what Grant Cardone does, and he raise it by a couple percent, 5%, 10%. What people don't know is that $50 hike in rent, when you have 300 units, that's another $100,000 a year in income, which then translates to maybe another $1 million, $2 million in value. But people don't know this. People don't understand this because people are fucking lazy and they don't want to put in the time to invest in themselves.
What about when the stock market takes a shit, the economy takes a dump, and the property goes down in value?
Okay, I'm 33 this year. Okay, I haven't lived long enough. You lived a couple of years more than me. How many times has the economy plummeted and real estate gone down to then go substantially higher than what it was? In the last 100 years, has real estate gone down or up?
Well, here in Las Vegas,
okay,
I don't remember the year, but there was a time where like I was renting this house and it was only like 160 grand, this house. Nice house, but 160 grand. The owners wanted me to buy it. They had financed it the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
Now, this is a long time ago. No, it wasn't that long ago, but it was a while back.
Okay.
And so I said, well, let me think about it. And within 2 months, the market was going nuts. Remember that? What was that? 2008?
Yeah, it was 2004 all the way up until 8.
Yeah, so maybe 2004. So I'm sitting there, let me think about it. A couple months went by. Everyone's hyping me up. I'm like, okay, I'll buy it. I go back. I said, okay, I'll do the deal. They said, well, we want 240 now. I said 240. It was just freaking, that's ridiculous.
Sure.
So out of principle, I told them, screw you. Like, you're not going to rate me like that. So I sat there and I still was renting the house. Like 2 or 3 months later, everyone said, dude, you're stupid. You should have bought the house. You should still buy it at 240. I said, okay. I call him back. I said, okay, I want 240 for it. He says, no, it's 320 now. I said, dude, it's been a couple months. What are you talking about? He said, dude, that's just what the value of the house is. So I never bought that house. I got pissed.
You're very lucky you didn't buy it.
Well, back then over here, we bought a house over here in Seven Hills, $195,000. I had to give it to my wife, or my ex-wife, but she sold that house for $600,000. She took $400,000 and went and bought over here a house in Royal Highlands right here they were asking $600,000. She put $400,000 down. I don't know if that was smart or not, but she put the $400,000 from that house into that house.
Okay.
And now it was worth $600,000. At one point, she was offered $1.4 million for that house. Now that house is worth $400,000, $500,000 tops. So it's never came back from the 04-08 bubble. It's never went that high again.
I remember buying, first of all, first mistake number one, and Grant says it, and I actually agree with him 100%. You never buy where you live, ever. Because every month when you pay that mortgage, it's not paying you back. You're not making any money on this house. And if your sole remedy is just appreciation, then it's a disaster deal. You need cash flow. You need income-producing property, which means you go and buy a building, even if it was a house, which I don't agree with because I can't stand residential real estate because of the thing you just said.
Yeah, but it's never been back. It's never been worth that since.
Look, man, people keep shachsharing, which means they keep fornicating, right? Children keep popping out. More people on this world, less land to stand on. Real estate will only go up in value over time.
Well, historically, that's a fact. But how long does it take? Because if you buy a property for $20 million, then the market takes a shit, and all of a sudden it's worth 16. How long do you have to wait until that thing's worth back to what you owe?
Risk versus reward. I told you the story. $100 million building. 4 years later, $500 million. Timing plays a factor when you're taking risk.
Do you think the market's going down or up right now?
I think it's going to keep going up for a little more. There's a period it's going to go up. Residential real estate is a very versatile side of real estate. And
is it about to tank?
I don't know about tank, but it's gone up a lot over the last decade, and I think it's going to slow down because I don't know how people can afford these rents. There's also a saturation. Like I live in Miami, there's a shit ton of inventory. Like I live in a place in a penthouse that
you rent.
I rent 100% rent, and I'm so thankful I do because the woman that owns my condo, she's losing $1,500, $2,000 a month renting it to me.
Because the rent won't sustain the...
Yeah, and her appreciation is a joke compared to, like you just said, in residential, it doesn't work that way. You can't see this massive explosion of sustainable appreciation. In commercial, multifamily, industrial, retail shop, there is where you can make spurts of massive equity and gain.
Is it all location?
No, it's location, of course, is very, very important, but it's also just demand, supply and demand for its inventory. Commercial real estate, industrial real estate, it's a small fraction of our economy, and there's a high demand for it. What do you think Amazon is doing today? They keep building out warehouses.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, dude, he erects, now he's erecting warehouse space.
There you go.
He bought
3PL,
it in the past.
3PL logistics.
He's making a shit ton of money. All he does is basically like Copenhagen, the chew company?
Sure.
They make chew.
Sure.
They ship out their pallets and pallets and pallets of Copenhagen that goes to all the stores, where they just go in there, set them down, and then deliver them to the stores locally. And that's all he does. They just rent his warehouse to leave their shit. Domino's, all the pizza boxes.
That's called third-party logistics, by the way.
Yeah, that's what he's doing, and he's
huge.
killing it. He just put up another 2 million square feet. Now he's building. He's buying the land, and he's building it, and it's just hand over fist.
That's why I'm in love with warehouses, because they're so goddamn versatile.
And he said Amazon is leasing all of it.
There you go. E-commerce, because of e-commerce, and it's only growing, by the way. E-commerce is now 11% of our economy. $6.4 trillion in retail sales this country does. 11%, I heard from last article I read, was based on e-commerce, and it's on a growth, 1%, 2% a year. So where do you think these people are going to stock this? Retail, which is shopping centers, are going to go to shit, which those are going to actually transform into warehouses, by the way, micro warehouses. Everybody's buying online. There's a huge demand for industrial. If you can go in your local market, find an industrial warehouse, and rent it out to a third-party logistics facility or a micro facility, or even a guy selling fucking shoes on eBay.
But why don't they just go buy it?
What do you mean?
Why don't they just buy the damn building?
They do. You could then go broker them and go make money that way too. Because there's such a high demand, it becomes valuable. Just demand alone. Forget cash flow. Forget the Grant Cardone system of income. If you can find a product anywhere in this country where you know there's a surge of demand for that type of product, you're going to make money. You can make mass loads of appreciation. You can own that real estate with the guy you're selling it to.
So I got a guy showing me a building in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
It's right downtown Portland, Oregon.
Nice area.
It's 3/4 full. I think they wanted $30 million.
Okay.
Why isn't it selling?
Because they can't get the note. So it can be considered distress. Underwriting, this whole term of underwriting, banks have to underwrite your deal. And if I think it's 5 or 10% vacancy on a building, they won't approve the deal with traditional financing. So that means you have to come up with more down payment. Now, most investors in real estate that are savvy, they have options. They're going to say, I got $10 million. Where am I going to put my $10 million that's going to give me the highest ROI, return on my investment, cash on cash? So if they tie up $4 million on this deal,
Explain cash on cash.
Cash on cash is basically what I call net cash on cash before taxes. Is basically what you're earning, the cash flow, minus all of your expenses, your debt service, which is the loan you get, whatever you're left with, that little nugget, that money, you divide it by your actual initial investment, your equity. So if you buy $1 million building and it's making $100,000 a year, NOI, net operating income, and you put $1 million, you're making 10% cap rate or 10% cash on cash. But if you take that same $1 million building, it's $100,000 in income, and then you go get a loan on it, and the loan is like $50,000 a year as your mortgage, your debt service, you're not making 100, you're making 50.
Yeah. So
And the
it's 50 cash on
$200,000,
cash.
let's say you put down, you take 50, right? Because you didn't put $1 million down. You put 200 grand down. You take your 50,000, you divide it by your 200, your initial thing, and then that's 25% cash on cash. And that's really what people should be looking at when they're evaluating a deal, is based on that income. So the reason you can't get that deal's not selling. One of your staff offered me a deal today, and I realized quickly the deal's not selling. Looks like a very good deal. Brand new construction in Atlanta. The reason it's not selling is because they cannot ascertain the financing. People can't, a bank will not lend on it unless you put more down. And people don't want to put down, because the more down you put, the less leveraging capacity means you're making a smaller ROI. People want to put, if I told you, Brad, come buy this building for $1, you would say yes, right? And it's making $100,000. What's the ROI on $1 versus $100,000?
Shit ton.
A shit ton, right? But if I told you got to put $1 million, you're making 10%. Doesn't sound as juicy.
I like 10%.
We all like 10%. Actually, by the way, folks, 10%, any double-digit return you can make in real estate, you're kingpin. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. So my plan is to obviously get into real estate. I'm going to dick around with you on some things on multiple fronts. But what I've learned over the last 3 to 5 years is if you're not in real estate, you're probably a fool.
That's one way of looking at it. I'll give you a more optimistic view. All roads will lead you to real estate. You're a doctor, where are you going to dump that money? Real estate. You're a stock trader.
So how do you get hurt?
I got a stock trader. This kid's 24 years old. His name is Umar Ashraf. Look him up. He's a great kid. And he's making millions of dollars doing stocks. Finally, after a year, I tell him, bro, you're going to pay some heavy taxes. He goes, yeah, I know, Mike. I got to start dumping into commercial real estate.
Like I got a kid here. He's like 20. He's doing drop shipping. I was telling him about, multifam and whatnot. And he said, dude, I don't have time to do all that. I said, dude, I got a buddy of mine, because I got a buddy that's starting to do this. He said, put me in for $500,000. So he'll throw in $500,000. I throw in $500,000. You throw in $500,000. My other buddy throws in $500,000. That's $2 million. Now the question is, what's $2 million buy? Well, shit, dude. You normally it's 30% down, right? So that'll buy a $6 million building. No.
Close.
$15 million building.
No, if you
$2 million. Hold on. That $8 million building.
Okay, that's 25%.
Yeah, 24.
Let's say whatever.
So that'll buy $8 million building. And
That's
the
right.
and the $2 million, if you're making cash on cash $200,000 a year, to me that's a deal.
That's a steal.
So then the guy that put in 500 would be getting back $50,000 every single. Like, what does it take 10 years to get your money back?
No, it would take you 4 years to make your money back.
On 50?
No, sorry, on 50,000. He invested
No,
50,000.
he's going to invest 500.
And the income is $200,000 a year.
Yeah. So we all get
years.
50.
If it's 200,000, what's the total pool of investment? 2 million.
2.
So he has 25%. The income is 200,000. So he gets 50,000 of it. Takes him 10 years.
Yeah, that's not very good, is it?
I don't know who said that's not very good. Are people fucking living in delusion town these days, man?
Well, don't you want it back in like 5?
For me, you're talking to me personally. I want my money within 90 days returned and 30-fold. That's me. But if you don't know what the fuck you're doing and you don't know real estate and you're just some investor like you just explained, I would be sucking your tit for 5-year return. That's a great deal. People don't understand the value of how hard it is to get this education. And now it's being served to you on a silver platter.
At MTIP?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if those of you guys who have a real desire, a real hunger to learn how to grow into this business, I'll bend over backwards for you. That's how motivated, that's how inspired I am to attract people like you. Talented people, hardworking, hungry, disciplined, which are the most difficult people to find these days. Everybody's out for instant gratification.
Yeah.
If you're instant gratification, you're looking for instant gratification, don't call me. Don't know me. Don't sign up to my course. I'm not interested in knowing you. You want true fulfillment, generational wealth, success beyond all levels you ever dreamed of? Hit me up.
So what happens, like, let's say 5 years from now, I get tired of Lightspeed and I dump it for, let's say,
Couple $100 million.
Yeah, 250.
Okay.
Now, again, I got my partner, Jay. I got to cut him off. It's all going to be capital gains because I built the company from scratch. So it's all capital gains. Of course, I'll probably get a little spot in Puerto Rico and save a little on that. But let's say I'm sitting on 150 mil.
Okay.
Like, it's in the bank. It's not earning shit. How do I start finding these deals?
Look.
Because if you ask me, if you invest 150 mil at 10%, you're making $15 million a year, and you can blow that money. See, the reason why people go broke when they win lotteries and shit like that
Sure.
is because they get this lump sum of money, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 mil, whatever it is. I mean, there's chunks that if you get, you're never going broke, even if you're a dumbass. But
You'd be surprised.
But in most cases, the reason why people go broke is because they go out and buy the houses and the cars and the trips and the loans to their family that are never getting paid back.
That's right.
And they go out and they donate and they're just living this high life because they have this money. And that's what you think, unless you're educated on finances. Where if you were smart and you won a lottery, and let's say you took that 80 mil, you act like you don't have 80 mil, you invest it into commercial or some sort of investment.
No. Just commercial real estate. If you have a thriving business, maybe. That would be the only alternative.
Well, there's other cash flow businesses, storage facilities. Is that commercial real estate?
Absolutely. That's industrial real estate. Falls under commercial real estate.
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever the terms are, you invest that money.
Okay.
Don't spend it. Don't buy a house.
That's right.
And then let's say you get 10%, which, by the way, 5% would be $4 million a year. Now, on that $4 million, if you were smart, you'd live on $1 million and just keep growing it. But let's say you were frivolous like me. You like to enjoy life. So you take that $4 million a year and you blow it, and it'll never stop coming, because as your investment, income is coming in, usually, especially if you wait and you're patient, that 80 million in investment is now 160 million. And then if you can last 30 years, which I may not, I'm already 50. In 30 years,
Till 120 you live.
yeah, but now it's fucking, it's 180 mil.
That's what generational wealth is. You give it to your kids.
Yeah, but your 10% return goes from 4 million to
No, it's no
freaking
longer
8
10%.
million.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. Your 10% became 50% after that much time.
Why?
Because as the time goes by, it's to your advantage. Your rate of return increases over time.
Yeah, because it's paying off the debt.
It's paying off the debt. There's appreciation. The rents are going up. Your costs, your operational costs for that building potentially might even go somewhat down. You're always probably going to be making, generally speaking, more income than you are going to be spending, obviously, to make the positive cash flow. So that goes up.
So last question, only because this is just the free shit for when the bomb squads listen. If they want to learn more, they can go find you, sign up for your course, and end up making themselves 7 figures a year because the information's there. It's not if it'll work. It does work. It's a fact. And you're not even charging enough, but that's irrelevant. I like to help people, so I'm not going to, argue over what you're charging. But obviously, dude.
I would give this service for free if I knew that the people listening had what it takes to see it through.
Well, I would tell them to reach out to you, but you fucking canceled your Instagram account.
No, I didn't cancel it. My Instagram is still my name. It's Michael Makabi. That's my handle. We also have one for our brokerage, MTIP Real Estate. You can find us. I'm not gonna lie. I don't handle my real estate, my Instagram account.
Michael Makabi, Makabi.
That's the.
But go hit him up. Hit him up with the hashtag Bomb Squad. Go check him out. But here's my last question before you run out of here and go shoot guns. The whole houses are a bad investment. I know people that own 40, 50 houses.
I do too.
They're renting them out, and they've made a fuckload of money. And their equities increased. Now everybody's happy. They're fucking happy as shit. So why do people keep saying it's a bad investment? Okay. Do they mean compared to?
Yes, it's compared to.
So it's not a bad investment. It's just compared to what you should be doing with that money. It's bad.
It's two-pronged. It's bad compared to because you can make much more money in commercial real estate. It's like being a real estate agent, right? If I go into residential, the average transaction price will be, on average, a couple $100,000 to like high-end homes, maybe a few $1 million. In commercial real estate, it starts at like $1 million and goes to hundreds of millions of dollars.
And there's not a lot of training on commercial real estate out there.
There is not, no.
I've had several people say that there is hardly any training for commercial real estate.
And so that's one, right? You make more money just from that. The second thing is you're not producing income on residential. Most people buy a house. This is what most real estate owners do, homeowners. They buy a house and they think they're going to live there for 30 years. The reality is they move. The other reality is people refinance every 3 to 7 years, which means that goddamn note starts from zero again, and the bank collects all that interest all over again because you're cashing out that money and taking that trip to Mexico. So it's an illusion that a home is a good investment. The appreciation aspect doesn't rise as fast as commercial does. The stability, the vacancy, if somebody leaves that house, you're fucked. If someone left a 10-unit multiplex or apartment complex, one guy leaves, you're still producing 90% of the income, 9 units of it. Yep. If half of them left, you're still making half of the income.
So here's another good point about commercial over residential, even multifamily.
Sure.
Commercial doesn't have a fucking toilet and fridge in every unit.
No, here's a net leases, triple net leases. You can buy an industrial complex, a shopping center, an office building,
and the tenant
basically pays your taxes, your insurance. They deal with everything. You're like collecting a net fee, net check every month, where you can only dream to get this in residential. Listen, the bottom line is it's quality of life. It's what I said in the beginning. You want to make the most amount of money with the least amount of brain damage in the shortest span of time. And that comes from really experience.
Yeah,
this is it.
And let me tell you guys something. If I could do things over, it'd be 2 things. 1, I would seek out knowledge quicker. And
Absolutely.
2, I would invest my money more wisely. If I would have spent all the money I've spent trying to impress people into real estate, it'd be impressive.
I believe you.
Yeah, the bottle service, the fancy cars.
It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. And
bullshit.
And not only that, dude, if it went away tomorrow, okay, not one person that was at that table drinking out of my, $10,000 bottle service nights and frickin' rode around in the Ferraris and the frickin', nobody would come over here and be like, dude, I owe you money because that was such an incredible memory.
That's right.
If I would have taken that money, I may not have as many friends going, dude, that fucking guy is the best. But guess what? I'd have so much loot right now. It'd be ridiculous. So what do I got to do? I got to freaking just continue to build and start getting wise and correct the mistake by freaking starting. It's never too late to start, folks. When you think, oh shit, I'm too old now, or
Absolutely.
You're not too old, dude. Get going right this second.
Or too young.
Or too young.
You don't have to be too old, too young. And I would tell you, just invest in yourself. Don't spend your money. Don't try to be something you're not. Own up to who you are. You don't need the fucking watch, even though I have one. I waited till I was 30 years old to buy this Rolex.
I say passive income.
Listen to me. I had the money when I was 20. I could have been an idiot. I had a couple $100,000. Could have bought $30,000 dropped on a gold watch. I didn't. I waited. I suppressed immediate gratification. Everything in my life like this. Don't look up what you see on Instagram and social media. It's all fake, folks. It's all fucking fake. These people are living in debt. These people are not real. They're all jaded. Let me tell you what's waiting for you at the end of the rainbow. Emptiness. You want true fulfillment. Know your why. And then find me and find Brad and we'll help you out with the rest.
You heard it, folks. Listen, Mike, thanks for coming in. I know you guys are heading off to
Thank you.
Hawaii soon.
Yeah, we're going to Maui, buddy.
But when you come back, try. Are you coming back to LA or are you going right all the way to Florida?
No, I'm going back to Paradise, Miami. Next time you got to come join us.
Well, I will, because like I said, dude, I want to have a further conversation. I can definitely build a big squad. I can definitely do that. I want to learn the shit that's going on. I want to put a little dough, start getting my feet wet, and so 5 years from now, I'm not going, damn, I should have done that sooner. Because my big play.
I think you're tired of that sentence.
Well, just my big play is going to be when I exit here, or just blow it up to a point where now I have to do something with my excess cash flow. Because I mean, like up till now, dude, I've put it back, I've blew it, I've been a dumbass. So remember that, folks, when you're listening. There's never a time that you would just keep fucking it up because you've been fucking up so long. You might as well keep fucking up. No, as soon as you hear this podcast, share it with people you love. If you got any huevos or you're ready to take a shot, go hit him up, hit him in the DM, #bomb squad so he knows where you came from. And let's get some quality of life. Because let me tell you something, guys. I've made a ton of dough, and being gone from your family, not being able to take the trips, like back in the car business, dude, when I was making about, $300-400 grand a year.
That's right. You were in the car business.
Well, I thought it was all the money in the world because I had a fucking ton of it. Because my nut was maybe $5,000 a month.
That's crazy.
And I was just making all kinds of money. But guess what?
I remember those days.
I was blowing it. And I was also never available. Like I worked every single day, all day. Like to take 2 weeks off was impossible. You'd get fired. You'd lose your job.
Absolutely.
So having a bunch of money and no way to spend it is also a bad deal. So even if you have a bunch of money, but you can't enjoy it, you have no family life, you have no relationships,
your health.
You can't help your health's number one.
Health, man.
But folks, pay attention, man. When you guys are listening to podcasts like this, it's from people that have already learned the hard way. You ain't got to go learn the hard way. You just fucking listen to people that have already been there, got their asses kicked, and now are nice enough and brave enough to share it with the world.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you very much, Brad.
Until